I'm Tiffany Bociek. I am a local artist in San Diego. I do fabricated steel sculpture, metal sculpture, and also two-dimensional work and encaustics. And you're here today at the Carlsbad Sculpture Garden in Carlsbad looking at some of my sculpture. One of the pieces that I wanted to talk about is this one called To and Fro. My relationship with my husband has been a big portion of my voice in my work, and how people deal with their own relationships. And so this piece is very significant in the sense that it is about working together, and there are two tricycles facing opposite directions with a single axle in the middle. And so I really see this as a conversation about my relationship with my husband, that the only way that we make things work, because we do work together, is you have to work together to move in the same direction instead of trying to both go in two different directions. And so that's one element of this piece. When I first entered into this space from that side, when I looked down here, I saw just these ellipses, all facing the gate, one right after another, and just like a series of ellipses. And when I really sat down and thought about it, though I saw it in my head, I had no connection to that shape. And so then I really started pondering on where my artwork was coming from and what voice I wanted to have and what I wanted to talk about. And one of the things that really kept coming back to me was this idea of relationships with my husband, relationships with my family, and how there's a very specialized idea of communication and understanding that you have to have. And so when I met my husband, I felt a sense of freedom because we're both artists, we're both we work together, building artwork together, and there was this wonderful sense of freedom. And so I came up with this idea of like home and hearth, and then I put wings on it because, I don't know, I have this idea that flight means freedom. And so these are not just birdhouses where most people say, oh, it's a cute birdhouse, but to me it's freedom. And so there's two pieces that go together, and this one is one of them, and there's a different way that each one hangs. This one's a free floating, because sometimes in relationships you feel very free and like everything's hunky-dory and the world is just lovely. And then there's another one where the line extends all the way down to the bottom. It's pulled very taut and very tight, and sometimes you feel constricted and restricted, and you're frustrated and you don't know what to do because you feel like you're contained. And I think that those are both very big parts of every relationship that you encounter, and that's kind of what this one's about. The shape comes from tree knot from our tongue and groove wall, and every night when we go to bed, my husband and I, when we talk, I look at this tree knot shape, and it has a lot of significance, because for me a relationship is like a tree knot. It grows, it's a mark left by the growth of a tree, and it can expand, it can contract, but when I look at that, I think of growth. And so this also falls in line with the theme between being constricted and being free. There's a secondary piece very similar, and it has the house that's hanging. So it's that feeling of freedom and feeling of constriction, and that's part of the growth process of every relationship. And that's what this, every night when I go to sleep and I look at this shape that's actually existing on my wall, from a tongue and groove cedar paneling, I'm reminded that relationships grow, and they're breathing, and they're living, and they're just like a tree. see a very deep connection there. This one is called Preserving the Balance of the Unnoticed, and this one was built for a specific site that they captured the view in the background, and that's what these two things are about. These two circles, they actually move independently of each other when you press on these water barrels or glass vessels. And there's this space out in East County where I grew up, in San Diego, where it's been taken over by urban sprawl, and there's this one area on this mountain that actually hasn't. And so when I looked at that, I thought to myself, this is what I remember San Diego being like, but it's changing focus. And so that's what these two circles are really about, is they move independently of each other, creating that scene in and out of focus. So this piece is called A squared plus B squared equals tree squared, and it is a tricycle that has been dissected and a oil drum with a lemon tree in it. And once again, this is kind of about relationships, but more or less about growth. And so it's just a fun piece, very whimsical, very childlike, and there's a myth about keeping a lemon tree alive. It's good luck. My friend, who also happened to be my grandparents' gardener, we'd talk out in my grandparents' garden, and he told me that it's bad luck to kill a lemon tree, and especially if you've planted it's the first plant that you plant at your home. That you will ultimately have years and years and years of terrible luck, no sex, no anything, and and I don't know where he heard it from. He's Colombian, so it could be from Colombia, but he's also Italian, so it could be Italian myth. I'm not really sure. So I see my work moving into the future, kind of dealing with the same topic. I just feel that the home and hearth, or the relationships, is just a topic that is very close. Communication, push and pull, things like that. It's something that I'm very interested in, and whether it's communicating from within my own head to some understanding just color, or the relationships between objects or even the relationship between two people and how that's expressed in a visual format. That's kind of where I see my work continuing to grow in the future. So the show comes down on the 30th of July at the Carlsbad Sculpture Garden off of Carlsbad Village Drive. Hours are Monday through Thursday from 10 to 4.